All right, word problem here at the very end of 1.2 notes evaluating piecewise algebraically. During a 9-hour snowstorm, it snows at a rate of 1 inch per hour for the first 2 hours, and then there's a comma. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a moment here and start kind of clarifying some things as we go. That this is helping us understand this first part. We know we have a function for that. We have its interval. Next up, we have at a rate of 2 inches per hour for the next 6 hours. So if we were at 2 hours, that will take us to 8. 2 plus 6 is 8. And then finally at a rate of 1 inch per hour for the final hour. And so we have 3 different functions in this piecewise function. We should hopefully be able to figure that out, everything with that. I'm really going to focus on the first function to help me with question number 1. What does the variable x stand for in this situation? I can see x playing itself out during the functions and the intervals, and hopefully we understand that that is a reference to the amount of hours since the snowstorm started. Yikes. All right, how much snow is on the ground after 7 hours? So again, this is a scenario here. Well, I want to make sure that I understand where is the 7 in play here. After 7 hours would be the location in between 2 and 8. So that's going to be something where I will eventually go ahead and I will plug that into our function. So again, after 7 hours, that means that that's going to be in that interval. And I will take the function and plug 7 in for that. And again, this is the one that's in orange. And I'll do a little bit of math work here. Looks like 2 times 5 plus 2, and that's going to end up being at the location of 12 inches, or 1 foot, of course. Good snowstorm here. It's 12 inches after 7 hours. How much snow is on the ground after 2 hours? This shouldn't be a tricky one, but it is a tricky one, again, because we recognize the fact that we see that we have 2 hours here. Here's 2. There's the number 2. Which one's being played out? And the key here is in the interval, which arrow has a line underneath it. That would be the one that is blue. So this one's going to be pretty simple just because the blue function is just the letter x, which means after 2 hours we know that there's going to be 2 inches of snow on the ground. And let's go ahead and just make sure we're keeping those measurements happy. If the snowstorm starts at 11 p.m., at what time was there 8 inches on the ground? Okay, so this is kind of trickier because we know that this is asking us something backwards. And I know that because it's giving me an amount of snow that I know. Here's a kind of sort of a trick to doing this. We should go to each interval and go to the top end and figure out exactly what it would be. And then we could kind of figure out from there function-wise. What do I mean by that? Well, we already know the top end of the blue function, right? We know that after 2 hours, there's going to be 2 inches of snow. Well, there's not 8 inches of snow on the ground, so we know in this scenario, our blue function is not where it's at. The maximum we can get is 2, 2. Now let's go to the orange one, and we know that the maximum amount of snow for that would be at 8 hours. All right, fantastic. Well, what would be the number at 8 hours? Well, I'd have to go into the orange function and plug that in. So if I did that, I'm going to probably go over here for a moment to do that. if I went ahead and did that, I'm going to be well over that 8-inch mark. All right, I'm going to be at 14. 12 plus 2 is 14. Which means at some point during that interval that's going to happen. Well, I'm going to go ahead and now reverse engineer that because it tells me 8 inches of snow. I should be able to take that, plug it into the formula, and figure it out. So I am using the orange, the 8-hour mark. I just got to go figure out how much exactly that is. So I'll set up an equation. I know that I'm going to total up here 8 inches. I know that it's going to happen in this interval of time. And by the way, there are numerous ways to do the algebra here. I'm going to go ahead and subtract that 2. I get 6 is equal to 2 times quantity x minus 2. I'm going to divide this 2, and I got 6 divided by 2, which is 3. And finally, I can add the 2 that was originally in the parentheses and get 5. Well, we gotta be careful in questions that involve time, because what this answer is telling me is that how many hours since the snowstorm started? 5 hours since the start of the snowstorm. Well, remember the key aspect here is the fact that we know that the snowstorm is starting at 11 p.m. How many hours is it? It's 5 hours since. So you could think about this. You could write it out if it's something that sounded. If this snowstorm is starting at 11, okay, that would be hour 0. Hour number 1 is 12. Hour number 2 is actually 1 a.m. 3 is 2 a.m. 4 is 3 a.m. And then finally, 5 is 4 a.m. Right, so if I'm keeping the timestamp happy here, we know that the answer is that could be expressed 2 different ways. How many hours since the start of the snowstorm? It's 5 hours. What time is it? And again, that's what's being asked here, is what time is it? The time would be 4 a.m. because that's 5 hours after 11 p.m.